Good morning. I'm Cynthia DeLorenzi, and I am the CEO of Success in the City. And we are here today for our monthly CEO Chick Chat series, filmed live here at the headquarters, or one of the number of headquarters for Pillsbury Winthrop Shaw Pittman. They are our sponsor because Pillsbury Winthrop Shaw Pittman is dedicated to providing important series like this on women in leadership. So today we are here interviewing Jen Sterling, who is a redhead. You'll understand more about that in a moment. Who is our former chairman of our board. She is our branding expert. She really owns our brand. She's funny about it, that if I try to do something differently. But it's been fascinating working with Jen, and I thought it was perfect to have an opportunity to interview you for CEO Chick Chat. So good morning and welcome, Jen.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I am thrilled that you're here. So Jen, you are the CEO and founder of Red Thinking LLC. Tell us what Red Thinking is.
It's a brand strategy and design firm. So we get in with companies, entrepreneurs and CEOs who are passionate about what they're doing. They're not sure how to get to the next level. We come in and help them through red thinking and through being able to think creatively and design thinking about how to get their business there, either through how they talk about it or how they execute it.
How did you get into doing something like this? I mean, is there even a program in school when you go to school? I don't remember when I was in college having and becoming a branding expert. And then imagine there are programs that kind of lead you to that, but how did you get to it?
I think there are now. I went to college because I was going to be a lawyer or a genetic engineer. And I had to take an art class for the general degree, and I went in and I took a class about type. And I learned all about letter forms and the design of letter forms and the history of letter forms, and I became a complete and total type geek. And I went from there into design classes, and then I went from there into becoming a designer in real life after I got out of school. And from there, I got more and more interested in the business side of things and how does design actually impact someone's business and solve a problem as opposed to just look nice. So I morphed into design branding and red thinking. But I believe that now they probably do have entire programs in both design schools and in business schools about branding and about how it has an impact on business.
It really is important, isn't it? I mean, it's really, you don't think about it. You don't think about how we message, but I think we're beginning as humans to understand that message is one of the most important things we do. And it's from branding could be how you dress to, you look at movie stars. I mean, you look at now magazines that are actually driven towards style and branding to how you present your company and tell your story. And you look at like Coca-Cola, brands that have been out there for years and years and years, Dr. Pepper. I'm from Texas, so everybody knows Dr. Pepper. But that's really fascinating when you think about it and how they tell their brand and how it's shifting too with the internet. So are you seeing that now that as the internet is becoming more vibrant and integrated into our lives, it impacts how brand is done?
Absolutely. I mean, everything impacts your brand, even down to the way the person answers the phone when someone calls your office. And people are realizing it's more than just a logo. It is everything that's wrapped around. It's the entire brand dress, your trade dress. It's how you present yourself, talk about yourself, the words you use. And even when you go online, it's talking about which keywords, which mediums, which vehicles you're using to communicate. All of it ties into how you represent who you are.
So how does somebody find and I'm interested in this subject, and we'll talk about you personally, but I'm really fascinated by the topic of branding. I mean, and the reason I think I've become so interested in is Jen actually designed the Success in the City brand. And I'm one of those people who goes on the internet and does everything myself, so I always think I'm really brilliant at doing it. But you don't realize until somebody, which is really funny because I don't know if you know Sam Horn. Sam Horn, we've actually interviewed her on Success in the City TV. She's a famous author. She really talks about human interaction. And one of the things she always says, somebody likes what you're doing if, number one, they furrow the brow when you show them your brand or you say something, they furrow the brow, it means they don't get it. And then if they lift their eyebrows, it means they get it, or they want to know more, or they're interested in something. Well, what I told her was, I love that, but I work with women who've all had Botox. You can't do that test.
It would make it more difficult.
Yeah, it does, because you can't, See, I can do that. But anyway, so I really think it's really interesting because people they're attached. Just like the lady who did Spanx. I saw her one time on Oprah, and she was talking about how she named her company Spanx, which was, I think, part of the branding story. And she's driving, she goes, what are the most popular brands? I thought this was interesting. Coke. And she thought about, Xerox. And a lot of those companies have that sound. And she named it Spanx because some of them have that very strong consonant sound. Isn't that interesting? So would you help a company figure out their name if
Oh,
somebody
absolutely.
needed? Oh, really?
Yeah, we do name storming a lot, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
So at what point would a company come to you and say, I need to change my name or do a new name or come up with a name?
Lots of different things can trigger it. It can be a brand new company. It can be the merging together of two other companies and they want to create something new. It could just be that a company has completely changed who they are. I mean, their name may have been based on what they originally manufactured or did or provided, and they've now actually completely morphed their business to stay with the times. They need to change their name to follow suit.
Interesting. Do you recommend that people do that? Is that a good idea? Is it risky to change your name?
It can be risky, but if you do it right, I think it can actually be a benefit. It gives you a reason to go out and have another touch point with your clients, and it allows you to tell your story. Well, we changed our name to this because of all of these things behind who we are as a business and what we're doing now. So it can actually help you get the message out even more.
Oh, it's interesting. I think that's so interesting what you do. How did you come up with Success in the Cities brand? I mean, our logo, and we did change our brand, and we had to because we had an agreement that we would change our brand. I loved what was originally created, and I absolutely had a crying fit when I had to. When I made an agreement that I would change my brand, it was for a very subtle reason, but it was, I think it was a good business decision because, I'd rather focus on business than being in a dispute with somebody. So how do you make the decision, or how do you figure out what to tell the brand? Because you created our first brand. I created the very first one, and she didn't like it. And then she created the other one, but that was in infancy, and we were starting out, and you just want to get your name out there.
It's
and
your brand with training wheels.
Yeah, it is your brand with we don't even know if you're going to be doing this. So we had one brand, and then we changed it to another brand that you created, and then we had to come back and say we need to do it again. So what was that like for you, and how did you figure out what to do, and where do you feel about our brand now?
Wow. Well, I guess the first time I got the call, it was more panic because I thought there's this woman bawling on the other end of the phone. What am I supposed to do?
I handled it very well.
Yeah, it was good.
It was like your 3-year-old, but I like my first picture the best. I don't want to change my butterfly.
So once we got over that part of it.
So you do counseling and therapy too?
I do actually, yes. I have
Yeah.
a minor in psychology. There's a reason for that. I think that it was actually kind of exciting in a really sick way. It was exciting because it gave us the opportunity to go back and revisit it. Because I think the first time that we did it, it was fix what's broken, but we didn't necessarily do the process the right way. And so when we had that chance to go back and do it the right way, we really got to take what was the true meaning of success in the city and embody it in a mark. And I'm just so excited with the new one because it just fits the women in this group and what this group is about. And I love the fact that anybody who looks at it gets it.
Yeah, they do. And that's one thing I love. And I didn't realize how important a logo was or your mark was until you start seeing people's face. I mean, even if men are handed my business card, they're like, come look at her car. That's amazing. That is what do you do? Or they but they get it and they know it's different and it's compelling and it's just really, and I told you, I said, I will never like anything you do any better. I was pouting a lot for 2 months.
Yeah.
But your team came together and really did it. But I think what's so compelling about that is the story behind that, which was really, really fascinating. So, and I did pout for a long time.
You did. But I think you're happy now.
I'm more than happy. I'm really, really happy. So I think, but branding goes beyond just your logo. What else is involved in branding?
Everything. How you talk to people, the words that you choose to use to describe what you provide, how you describe why you do what you do. I mean, a lot of companies, they talk about what they do. Oh, we do, this service and this service and this service. But if you have a company that can talk about why they even do what they do, why they got into it to begin with, why they feel it's so important to do the things that they do. The passion builds up behind what it is they're providing. I mean, you take Apple, they have an amazing brand for so many different reasons, but they talk about why they do the things they do. They want to think different. They want to push the envelope. They want to have design thinking applied to all of the services and the software and the products that they develop. And it really wraps around who they are as a company and who they hire and how they go about doing business.
That's really interesting. Let's talk about Apple and Google for a little bit and how they do branding, because it's really fascinating, compelling stories, especially I think part of their story is Steve Jobs, which is incredible. If you can read the book on Steve Jobs, talk about an innovator. He created a new world for us. I mean, I sad for losing Steve Jobs because he really changed our world. So how do you tie all that in, and how do they get that message out and have somebody do that? And will they continue to be as successful going forward as they were having Steve Jobs at the helm?
I think they absolutely will be as successful moving forward. That's purely based on gut rather than having any inside knowledge of the company.
Okay, so you're not on the
I'm a
phone with them.
complete Apple, aholic. So I completely think the company will take in the seeds of Steve and be able to grow those forward. So I have no fears there, and in fact have a lot of stock in the company, literally. So they better be able to keep going. My faith is there. I put my dollars behind my guts.
Oh, I like that. You put your dollars behind your guts. That's another success.
They always say you should buy what you believe in, so that's what I did.
Absolutely, you should buy what you believe in. And what you're using at home,
Everything.
Yeah. Really, what you look at home and what the brands you choose to use, I think, should tell you something, or think about it anyway.
I don't even remember what you asked me.
So I asked you about Google. I asked you about Google and Apple, which I think are just fascinating brands.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated in those two brands, one because I actually was a geek prior to becoming a girl on TV. And as you know, my background is geeky stuff, so I love talking about those things. But I like talking about branding too because it's taking innovations, taking concepts, it's taking things that happen on the fringe, which is where I always believe things are developed and are innovated, and then put it in the core and see what happens. So what do you think about Google's branding?
I like Google's branding. I haven't done a lot of reading about them. I don't know a lot of what went into actually creating it, but I love the way they've been able to take and own things like, for example, the changing of their name to actually represent something happening in the day or some particular holiday or things like that, or a memory of a person, and they have a whole gallery of these pieces.
I love that. That is amazing.
Yeah.
I saw the guy, I don't know if they have the same person doing it, but on TV, I mean, he's like an IT geek, and he started doing, artwork, and so he would be doing, I'm sure you'd have to have a team of people now coming up with the new concepts and all the things they're doing, but I do like that.
They're hung all over the walls in their office here in Virginia. Actually, you can go see a bunch of the different ones in their headquarters, and then you can also go online. I believe they have a whole gallery of them. But they're fabulous. They're absolutely fabulous. And it's a little tiny thing, but it expresses a lot of their personality and part of their brand. The way that they're hiring people, and the way that their offices look, and the way that they are involved in community events, and the presence that they bring to that, and the personality that they bring to that, all of it builds around their brand.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I just am always intrigued by that because I do, and maybe because of knowing you, I really have stopped now to look at branding and logos and messaging. You are rubbing off on me. Especially what I love about Jen is she says, I'm too busy to take that on. I said, okay, I'll design it myself. She says, never mind, let me do it. I'm happy to myself. Yeah, I know, don't. And I'm hard because I have a million ideas all the time, but I think she really likes it. I think it is intimidating, but I think you like it too because it's always different. You know, it's not the same old, thing. It's all.
You're always trying to push the boundaries of your brand. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think we do. I think that's what our brand. I hope what our brand tells you. We push, we push the limits. We get out there. We make people think about new ideas and engage in conversations. So let's talk about your branding company. So one of the things I was talking to, and we work with Andrew here at Pillsbury a lot, and he's responsible a lot for telling their story and branding and driving the programming and everything, which is one reason he leads up here. One thing he asked me is, so does a company like yours also do the back end, or are you just front end? Are you style? Do you incorporate that? And back end, I mean like writing the code for a website.
Oh,
or
yes.
selecting, who's going to write the code or what platform to put a website on.
Absolutely. We do the soup to nuts. We want to make sure that once we start with a client, we're able to carry through and deliver on what it is that they're trying to execute. Sometimes that's included in staff internally within the company. We keep a fair number of people on staff, especially the core creative team stays with the company. But oftentimes when we go out to the development side, there are so many options and so many platforms, and you never know exactly which one is going to be best for which client until you get into it. I want to have the freedom to go and pick the right developer. So I may have a developer over here that does Joomla, and one here that does Drupal, and one here that does WordPress, and someone else who does Expression Engine, and someone else does .NET Nuke, and I'm able to say, okay, for this particular client and what they're trying to accomplish, we want to develop on this platform. So I'm going to be able to go and pick the vendor that is going to be able to provide that the best. If I'm hiring developers, I can afford to have one or two people on staff, and they kind of have to know a little bit of everything, and they're not incredibly deep in any of it.
Right.
And when it comes to development, you have to know it right. So
do.
I'm not willing to do that on staff. Design and creative, absolutely, I want that on staff because that's so much core to who we are. I mean, we're known for the conceptual creative that we create. We don't just make a pretty picture, we actually apply it to the business challenge and the problem to try and solve it. So it's very important to me that the team we have, the core we have, is maintained and is done internally.